Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Monday, August 14th, 2023. And today I'm going to install the exhaust manifolds on the left and the right side, and I'm also going to install the EGR valve. If you're new to my channel, my name's Tony, and this is Tony Live TV. And I'm in the process of rebuilding my 1987 560 SL. I've taken every single nut and bolt apart, and now I'm putting it all back together. Currently, I'm at the engine. I'm getting pretty close to getting the engine done, so I'm gonna be starting this car. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna be starting the car live on YouTube. That's the plan anyways. I've never done a live on YouTube yet, so make sure you subscribe and click that little bell so that you'll be notified when I actually try to start this car for the first time since 2008. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get this video started. I'll catch you guys on the next one. This is the manual removal and installation of the exhaust manifold. That's the 107. That's of course an early model. That doesn't look anything like our exhaust manifolds. And if we come in here and try to find some information like torque settings or anything like that, you're gonna find out we don't have anything like that at all. It says exhaust manifold. Just remove, reinstall, unscrew the screws, number 7, and the nuts. So there's your 7 and your 9. And then it says install with new nuts and gaskets. Nothing about torque settings, but it does have this little note here. Gaskets with metal side facing the cylinder head. The other side is like a paper gasket, right? So that metal side, that's your bolts, unless you're going to use your old bolts. These are all the washers. You're going to need a total of 16, 8 per side. These are your exhaust nuts. You're going to need 4 on each side. This is the number for the exhaust manifold gaskets. Here is the number for the EGR. And to do the job, you're going to need a ratchet, a 10 millimeter socket. That's for the heat shield. 11 millimeter and 11 millimeter open end. You know, that's to tighten those clamps up after we torque this all down. This here's a 13 millimeter, this is a 12 millimeter, and then a torque wrench, about 23 Newton meters. And I say that because since there are no torque settings, I come over here, this is an M8, and it says 24. Well, I'm gonna set my torque wrench to 23 Newton meters and just kind of go there. You can always go tighter, but once you go too tight, you can't turn back. So that's the parts and the tools that we're gonna need to do the job. I wanted to just briefly touch on these clamps and this coupling area. You know, when you go to purchase this, it shows it only as a kit. I've talked to my local Benz dealer, you know, he doesn't know anything about it either. See, originally this was sold as a repair kit, but now it says it's an expansion body. So I'm wondering if you can actually get these. If any of you guys have purchased that, let us know. Now, I'm not talking about on eBay because I think the original number is the actual kit. I'm talking about the new number now that it goes to. Now it says it's an expansion body. But if you purchased that recently using that new number, let me know if you get everything. I recommend you probably don't take these things apart until you know for sure you can get all these components. You know you can get those rings because I've included that in the last video. So I'm going to start with this right side. So let's take this over to the engine. So you can see I've been putting some studs in here, and all that is just a bolt. Before I did anything, I went ahead and I used a chase. I made sure that everything was clean. I chased each one of these bolts. These gaskets can go on, you know, either this way or that way. Make sure that you don't close up these ports, you know, so if you were to put this in there, you can see what happens. It also hits the top of your cover, and you see how that lines up, and you have a complete open port on both sides. So the purpose of these studs is to hold that gasket. Could you imagine putting your exhaust manifold on here without something to hold these gaskets up? I've cleaned the surfaces, like I said, with brake clean, and everything's ready to go. And I even dusted it all off, and I did the same thing with the exhaust manifold flange side. Just like the manual said, gaskets with metal side facing the cylinder head. and that's exactly what we have. As you can see, this is the paper side. So now we're ready to put this on. Hey, if you guys enjoy my videos and like the detail and everything, you know, I'm doing all this live by myself. I don't have any help at all in this garage. There we go. So I have an old nut that I thought I would put on there. There we go. Then we know it's not going to fall off. One more that I can put in there as well. I think now would be a good time to let you know that I plan on putting just a little dab of anise on the leading edge of the new bolts that I put in there. It's mainly for the next guy. I don't plan on ever taking this apart again. So there's that little pea size that I'm talking about, just that little bit of anise like that. Got the washer on there. I can't really see, can you? Ah, you can see that. Now we'll just do one at a time and put in the new bolts, and same thing, we'll put in the new nuts. So I've got this last one here to go. The washer and the new nut. You know, I do have that anise on here, right, on all these bolts. I think it's a good idea. Just doing that by hand. Equal pressure by hand, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a little wrist with this. And I'm going to, since this is a head, I'm going to start from the center and work my way out. And I'm going to alternate, right? Top, bottom, top, bottom. And now I'll do the bottom, which is a 12 millimeter. All right, now everything's been snugged up. In my case, these are loose. I'll tighten this up after we get the manifold all torqued down. I've decided to go with 21 Newton meters, and the reason for that is because, like I said before, I can do it tighter if I need to. But I also have some anise on here. Some of you might say, oh, you know, that's going to change your friction. Well, if it does, it won't be more than 10%. So there you go. I'm taking a couple of Newton meters off. If I need to tighten it more because they leak or something like that, then I can do that. Plus, you know, these ones here are copper. I want to be a little bit cautious and feel this. So I'm going to start with this one right here, but I'm only going to take it to about 10 Newton meters. 10.3. And then I'm going to do the nut. And it came out to about the same, 10.3. Now I'm going to do this one. Now I'll go 15. I'm on my final torque at 21 Newton meters here. There we go. 21.2. Like I said, we can always come back and hit them again. About the same here. 21.3. So let's do the rest of them. Well, now let's go ahead and mark our bolts. That represents that they're torqued, and our nuts as well. Now we need to position these. These are in the same plane as your exhaust manifold. In other words, you know, it doesn't stick out higher here or farther there. It's on that same plane. If you took the top of your head and drew a line, it would go with the same plane. So I'm just gonna watch these reference points, and this is where the 11 millimeter, you have to hold the nut on the back, you know, nice and easy, because you've got that copper ring that you're dealing with, right? So just take your time. That's what I'm gonna do. Really easy. I don't want to put any stress on here at all. I like the way they feel. The nut's not turning yet, so we're good. I would say you probably don't have to do it a whole lot more than wrist tight. Because when I took it off, if you guys remember in my other video, when I reconditioned these, I took this off quite easily, and they were a little bit rusted. There you go. That's the way I like it right there. Looks really nice. All right, let's go ahead and dress it up even more. These are 10 millimeter. And I'm just gonna wrist tighten them. Again, you know, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. Just get a feel for it and say, yeah, that feels about right. It's nice and snug. Look at how beautiful that is. Now you guys notice the color of this, right? It's a little bit darker, I would say, than the original color. Mike from Mike's Mercedes and other cars, he did a 280, I think it was, a 280 SL, and he painted it with the exhaust paint. Just like jewelry, right? And now here's our left side. I've got the gasket for the EGR valve later, got my little nuts here. The clamps are loose, just like the other side. Now I'm ready to take this over to the engine. I have already cleaned the mating surface as well as the exhaust manifold, and I've put on all my gaskets and verified that they're in the right place, so they're clear. Old nut, just because I don't want to mess it up with the new one yet. I have another nut here. New nut and washer. Just like before, I have a little bit of anti-seize on every one of these bolts. Snug them down by hand. Start with the center. Go down. Grab the nut. You can't really turn those copper ones in without a ratchet because they're basically a locking nut. So by hand, that's as much as I can get in there, and you can see it's loose. So now I'm just going to do, wrist tighten. Just want to feel it bite. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and just get this bottom one over here. I just want to bring it to the surface. Nothing more than that, just like that, that's it. Good. I'll do this one. Good. 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 So now we can start the torquing process. And just like I said before, I'm going to start here. I'm going to jump down to here, and then over to here, and down here, 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 and here. Center out. I'm going to start with under 10 or 10 roughly. All right, so now all those are at 10, and now I'm gonna go like 13, and then 18, and then I'll catch you guys when I'm ready to do 21. I'm on my final torque, and I've got my torque wrench set to 21 Newton meters. $21.1. 21.2. 21.2. 21.2, amazing. 21.2. 21.1. 21.2. 21.3. So let's mark our bolts and our nuts. So now everything's torqued down, so we'll concentrate now on these. So right now they're loose, but I went ahead and I've got them really lined up right where they want to be. I'm making it exactly the same as the other side. So I don't want to tighten anything too tight. I'm just going to go back to each one like this and just get a feel for them. We have brand new copper seal rings in there. I have all my lines right across there. Remember, I made my marks, so I'm right where I want to be. And just like the other side, I'm just going to, just wrist tighten, right? Just with the wrist, and just do it equally. That's, again, same thing I did when I did the other side. The hardest thing is getting your wrench to hold on the nut. There you go. See how I'm just, just barely doing it? Equal amongst them all. I think that's about all I want to do right there. To me, that feels good. It feels tight. I'm sure that it's going to be perfect. Before I continue, I want to show you this left side of the engine. And this is how it was after I pulled it out. Do you guys see anything wrong with that exhaust manifold? I'll give you a couple of seconds to see what you can see is wrong. What's wrong is that they put this on this way. Look at that picture again. Can you believe that? So let's put this on the right way, and it's going to go on there just like that. Same thing, it's going to be on the second hole, or the inside holes. I lined up both holes, and then I tightened this one down. I've left this one off because up here we have clamp that sits right there, and I need some flexibility in order to get this EGR valve on. There's also one in the back. There's a point back here where this is also got a bracket, so if you need the extra room, you can take this back one off. I've cleaned both this surface as well as the EGR. As a matter of fact, I went through that already and tested that EGR valve in another video. I don't think it really matters which way. This looks identical on both sides. The only difference is the writing. So that's the direction that I'm choosing. Here's my EGR valve. I think the key is that I gotta place that on there first. Then I can line these up where they need to go. And then this is just a compression coupling. I'm not going to tighten that one until after I tighten these down. So now I'll put the nuts on there. And for these, no specific set, but it's a 10 millimeter. I got an open end. This here is a 24 millimeter. So after you've got this tight down here, go ahead and tighten that. Now is this little clamp, which goes over here and ties onto the top. This here can be tough to get in there. The way that mine was, and I'm not even sure if this is right, the washer was on the bottom, and then these were like that. And again, I'm just doing wrist tighten. That's it. Getting quite hot here in the garage. It's close to 100 inside the garage right now. Next week, I think, you know, they say that we're gonna be 116 or something like that. You know, I want us to get started on the injectors, but it's just too hot. I'm sweating as it is. If I'm on top of this engine, you know, it's gonna be even worse. I don't want to be sweating down on those injectors and everything. I'm going to have to wait until the temperatures cool down a little bit, but that's the next job that I think I want to do. Hey, if you guys want to support me, there's a few different ways you can do it. You know, the one way, of course, is to subscribe, you know, and share and let your buddies know. Don't forget to click that bell too, because we're going to start this car live, you know. I also want to do future videos like how well did this heat temperature paint do. Well, let's take a look at how nice this came out. I think it looks great, right? Both sides look great. This left side looks great. This is the right side. It came out great too, right? You know, give me a thumbs up if you like what you see. And if I save you any time or money, hit that thanks button down below. As always, guys, thanks again for watching.